word, play, ground. Word, play, ground.
Woohoo!
Word, play, we lost a person. Okay, so poetry is weird. Most people are like, they have no use for poetry in their lives. Joanne and I know, it's there.
I don't get that.
It's better for us. It's their lives. So, sometimes it's really hard to understand. Sometimes it hits you so hard that you remember it for the rest of your life. What do you need?
Yeah.
And we have chaos here.
That's okay. Ooh.
So Joanne and I, we dabble in the poetic arts.
Yeah.
But a guy named Aram Saroyan has done so many amazing things. Aram Saroyan, that's how you say his name. He is Armenian. He's Armenian American.
It's all good.
Okay, chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a poet, he's a novelist, he's a biographer, he's a memoirist, he's a playwright, he's all these things. I'm gonna need that book. So, jumping in, right? So Aram writes like short minimalist poems, right?
Yeah.
So, jumping in, the first page of this book, a man stands on his head 1 minute, then he sit down all different, down all different. So here, like it's weird because he's not saying sits, then he sits down all different. It's the word sit that makes this thing like click. So this one's hilarious. It cracks me up. My knees are in my knees. My eyes are in my eyes. Just little inspirations, little things to be like, oh yeah, that's wild. That made me think. This one. Sky every day. This is backwards? Short little moments. That's all it takes. It's not like the wasteland. Okay.
I like that.
E-Y-E-Y-E. So what's going on here? You got the word I twice, right? With only 3 E's. So if you take away Sugar Bear. If you take away the first EY, you still have I. And if you take away the second EY, you still have I. So it's like I. See what I'm saying?
Oh.
Like you take away the YE and you have I.
Oh.
And you take away the EY and you have I. So it's like camera 1, camera 2.
Totally.
Camera 1, camera 2.
That's like totally wordplay.
Exactly. Right. So that's what he's doing.
And that's like the whole poem.
That's the poem.
Wow.
Right. So it's like, narrative in our world. Is there like a beginning, a middle, and an end to this? Like I don't know.
I think it's like it's just like infinity kind of. Like it always is. It always was.
Right. It's just instantly. It's always there. Right. So like the minimalism that like it's not this ginormous Shakespearean play. It's just like it's this one moment that like I remember this. Like I know that there's this cute thing that he does with the eye. Check this out. What are we looking at right now? That is a 4-legged M. Right? It's so weird. So people have called this like the birth of language, right? Because it's like the M and the N is separated. Like it's cell division. This idea, this concrete poem, it's you see it before you read it. Right? So like you're not reading it really, you're just kind of seeing it.
Yeah.
And this idea actually is known as the shortest poem by the Guinness Book of World Records. This one and another one. There's like a thing between 2 poems. The baby, right? And then if you think of like the lowercase letter B, right? It's like if you break it apart, it's like an L and an O, right? The lowercase letter B.
Yeah.
Lowercase letter D, it's like a O and an L, right? So and like you could play with that like the P, like it's a L lowered with an O. So this piece, it's always just giving me like the idea of like, is this consciousness? Like, is this him saying like Aram saying like I am. No one's ever done this before. And it's like, I am here today. This is me doing this.
Can I get your nose?
No one's ever done anything like this before. A 4-legged M, creating language, creating something that will live forever. And if you really look closely, in the negative space, this is just me. In the negative space, it's like popsicles. you know. And then if you turn it, it becomes a B with an extra loop. You know, it's just one of those weird
Or like
things.
the DNA thing. It kind of reminds me of that symbol.
All right.
You know?
Yeah. So it's just a neat little piece that he has.
I think it's pretty interesting how the way that poetry or this poem is perceived, where it's purely visual, without any content.
Right, we do the work,
and you feel it like first, before any logic goes on.
Right, it's super quirky. Like this was done, just for context, this was done in the 60s.
Wow.
So, like, you know, in the spirit of exploration, playfulness, whatever he was doing with his life, you know, he went to a lot of colleges, I can tell you that. So he just did wild things, and this has just been really inspirational.
I think it's pretty cool that it's like a poem, or considered a poem.
It's a minimalist poem.
Yeah, very, very, very.
So